Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call to order the regular City Commission meeting for May 1st, 2018. Please have roll call.
Commissioner Drosky.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Parnas.
Here.
Vice Mayor Battle.
Here.
Mayor Gantz.
Here. Can we please have a moment of silence and then our Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have approval of the City Commission meeting minutes for February 28th, April 11th, 2018?
I'd like to motion to approve those minutes as well as the special commission meeting minutes.
For February 28th? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Second.
Thank you. Acknowledgement of our city board minutes for code compliance special magistrate meeting minutes for January 9th, 2018, February 28th, 2018. Planning and zoning board meeting minutes for March 1st, 2018. Community redevelopment agency meeting minutes for February 13th, 2018. Cultural Committee meeting minutes for February 5th, 2018, March 19th, 2018.
I'd like to make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Approval of our City Commission agenda for May 1st, 2018.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Our first item, Mr. Turner.
First item number one is application of 1801 Medical Center LLC. A plat note amendment. Is the applicant here? Can you please step forward and indicate whether you wish to waive the quasi-judicial proceeding? Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
You say your name and whether you wish to waive.
Yep, Dan Fee, CDI Engineering and Planning. Yes, I waive
Thank you, Dan.
quasi-judicial.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to testify in this matter? Seeing none, there's no one to administer who might need to administer the oath, so you may present.
Okay, good evening. We're working on a redevelopment of the old office building, 1801, and one of the things that we're trying to plan for is a future parcel for a bank and potentially a Starbucks restaurant. And the current plat note amendment that's in place doesn't allow for those uses on this portion of the property. So we're amending the note to incorporate these additional uses so that they have potential in the future as part of a redevelopment project. And I can answer any questions you might have. I mean, we worked with the county to craft the note in a way so that it only pertained to this particular parcel, and they would have to be the only entity to execute the agreement with the county.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? Anyone from the public, as we already stated? Not seeing anyone from the public come forward and close the public portion and be heard. Commission comments?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Battle.
Yes.
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Item two is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach amending Section 9857 PID Planned Industrial District of the city's Land Development Code to add medical and laboratory uses and remove restaurants as a permitted use, limit the amount of outdoor seating allowed at restaurants approved as a conditional use, add uses intended to serve employees and patrons in the PID district as permitted accessory uses, and remove the design standard requiring buildings to be 25 feet apart on the same site, amending 9861 Schedule of Dimensional Regulations of the city's Land Development Code to increase minimum yard setbacks, maximum heights, and floor area ratios within a planned industrial district. Now, this is the second reading.
City manager, do you have any comments on this?
No, Mr. Mayor, we do not, unless there's anything that the city commission would like us to cover for the general public. Thank
Okay.
you.
Anyone from the public here to comment on this item? Not seeing anyone, I'm going to close the public portion to be heard. Commission comments and hopefully a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Battle?
Yes.
Mayor Gantz?
Yes. Next item.
Next item is an ordinance City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach vacating and abandoning a 12-foot wide sanitary sewer easement located at 1250 West Hillsborough Boulevard.
City Manager, can we get a little history on this? I know this is second reading on
Yes,
this.
if I could ask for the Planning and Development Services Director to discuss this, and we also have Mr. Tom Good, who's available as our Environmental Services Director.
Okay.
Power.
Good evening, Eric Power, Director of Planning and Development Services. So as we discussed at the last meeting, this is a current development project that's been approved by the City Commission for a TOD district. This was previously an existing development that sort of went in the different direction. So the utilities, underground, sewer, sanitary sewer, things like that, and those easements run in a counter direction to what the new project will be. So they are required to release these easements in order for them to construct the new project.
Okay. Commission, do you have any comments, questions? Not seeing any. Vice Mayor Battle.
Yeah, just for my education here, when we abandon, we're not gonna be using anymore. They're
Right.
gonna come in and they're going to,
New ones,
new ones.
Right.
At their cost.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Powers. Anyone from the public care to comment on this item? Not seeing anyone. I'm going to close the public portion to be heard.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. May I roll call, please?
Commissioner Drosky?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Battle?
Yes.
Mayor Gantz?
Yes.
This is public comments. No comment shall be made related to the personal life or personal qualities of any person, and no language which would offend persons of ordinary sensibility shall be permitted. Members of the public may speak on non-agenda items during this portion of the agenda.
Do we have any signups? No. Anyone from the public care to speak? Your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Glenn Sullivan, 2377 Deer Creek Trail, Deerfield Beach. First, I'd like to thank you for uploading the monthly financials on the city website. Appreciate that. The city staff is probably well into developing the FY 18-19 budget. I really hope the direction given was to prepare a budget that is significantly lower in spending than the 17-18 budget. Taxpayers are owed a reduced budget and lower millage. I say that because when identifying spending needs, the city manager and commission continue to compare Deerfield Beach to other surrounding communities, but fail to take into account that our city's median income is $40,000, which is half to a third of these same communities that are compared. And our poverty rates are higher than all but one. So there's got to be some comparative considerations when talking about other communities. Since 2014, revenue has grown by over $46 million per year, going from $133 million to $179 million in 2018. I can't imagine why revenue growth beyond that would be required. Parks and recreation fees have risen. There's a new stormwater fee. Utility taxes are bringing in higher revenue. New housing and increases in value have and continue to increase revenue. Employees have received the significant raises after the pay and classification study was approved by the commission. This actually raised some salaries by up to 40% in one day into the 2017 fiscal year. The city has taken on an additional $36 million in debt to address the projects needed, and because the city borrowed additional funds to pay the interest, there is no impact to the budget. Even after the pay and classification study, the city in the 2017-18 budget reclassified even more positions, awarding even higher salaries to some. So it's high time the city manager and commission stop the rise in spending and reduce millage rates for next year. It is time to prioritize within a cap and not expect even more from the taxpayers. I look forward to the budget workshop meetings coming up and believe that a millage rate goal reduction of at least 10% is well within the means of the city and the commission. That would be consistent with the millage rate reduction we were promised with the introduction of the utility tax. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Katie Freitag, 418 Southeast 2nd Street. Two things going on within the city within the next couple of weeks, one of which is starting on Thursday. All middle school kids have been invited to take an art class in conjunction with the Cultural Committee and the Historical Society. It starts on Wednesday. It's from 5 to 7. There is room for a few more kids, so if you know any middle school kids who are interested in learning about art and the composers that were producing music during that time, they are more than welcome to give a call to Gabriella, and she'll get them registered and signed up. Second thing, Island Water Sports is trying to send kids to surf camp and skate camp this summer. There are tickets available online for the raffle baskets. Every basket has no less than a $500 to $600 value per basket. We're looking to sell as many as we can, and the drawings will be held on May 30th. So please go online to Island Water Sports and purchase your tickets so we can send kids to camp. Thanks.
Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Sandra Jackson, 386 Southwest 35th Avenue. I just want to know if anybody watched the draft. I want to let you guys know some of those kids got drafted was part of the pack rap from Deerfield Beach.
Anyone else from the public? Yes, sir.
Patrick Carter, 816 Southeast 4th Court, Deerfield Beach. I'm coming here just actually begging. City Commission, Mayor, everybody, I've lived where I've lived for 16 years. There's a facility next to me that's run as a sober home or whatever else, not legal, not anything else, I'll leave that part alone. But literally every night since 2016, I've had anywhere from 15 to 20 guys out in the parking lot doing whatever else. I've had a football in my backyard. I've had a soccer ball go up against the window. I've had a full bottle of Gatorade go up against the window. Call the police, nothing happens. As long as there's not audible noise, nothing happens. Last night, literally, we were out there until 12:30 last night. The distance between where I live is that wall to maybe midway in this room. And every night, I live next to a frat house. And since 2016, I've come and I begged. And like last night, I mean, it was 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning before I was able to go to sleep. I understand there's things that are being done, but I mean, it's been a long period of time for me to be able to enjoy my home, cool weather, open up my windows, open up my doors. Like I said, there's things that have been thrown on my property, things have been thrown up against my windows. Thank God I put hurricane windows in to protect against the noise. If not, I would have had 2 broken windows, and I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have paid for it. I mean, it's coming to a breaking point at some point in time that I just want to be able to have a decent night of sleep. So that's all I'm asking. The property is 853 Southeast 4th Court, which is adjacent to where I live. If you guys don't know where it is, if you haven't come by, do you know where it is?
Yes,
I can give you the
absolutely.
address if nobody knows.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's deplorable. I mean, it's 12:30, 1 o'clock at night, and I can't. I mean, no one can sleep in our area. The ladies are afraid to say anything, and I come here as kind of a representative to help. That's all I'm asking for.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Carter. Just a reminder, if everybody could please turn off your cell phones or at least put them on mute, please. Appreciate it.
Dan Hers, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. At the April 11th Commission meeting, in explaining his stance before voting on the new stormwater fee ordinance, our mayor made the statement that our millage rate has not risen since 2014. The citizens of Deerfield Beach are not happy when one of our elected officials tries to mislead and fool the public. Let me explain how the mayor's statement at the least is misleading and at worst is actually false. The timing of the following lesson is appropriate with budgeting for fiscal year 2019 right around the corner. I have a couple visual aids here. Let this $20 bill that I'm holding up represent the value of all property in Deerfield Beach this year. And let this $10 bill that I'm holding up represent the value of all property in Deerfield Beach last year. Now, if you take our operating millage rate, which is roughly 6 mils, and you multiply it by the $20 bill, you get total property taxes coming into the city of $120. If you take last year's value, represented by this $10 bill, and multiply that by the 6 mils rate, you get total property taxes coming into the city of $60. In this example, you haven't raised the millage rate at all. It's still 6 mils, but you sure have a lot more property tax revenue coming into the city this year versus last year. Fortunately, our state legislature, under Florida Statute 200.065, prevents politicians from claiming they have not raised the millage rate even though more property tax revenue is pouring into the city. The city is required to reveal the millage rollback rate, which is the operating millage rate necessary to keep the same amount of property tax revenue coming in year after year. By the state of Florida's definition, property taxes in Deerfield Beach rose almost 9% this year. So the next time you hear a politician claiming he has not raised the property tax rate here in Deerfield Beach since 2014, remind them of Florida Statute 200.065 and the rollback millage rate. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Not seeing anyone coming forward, I'm going to close the public portion to be heard. Our next item?
Next item is a resolution, well, the next item are board appointments, 4 through 6. If there's no objection to anyone, you can approve all of them in a single motion after you first give the public an opportunity to be heard.
Anyone from the public care to comment on any of these items? No one?
Well, in that case, I'd like to make a motion to approve 4 through 6, the appointments.
We have a motion and a second. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky?
Yes?
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Parnes?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Battle?
Yes.
Mayor Gantz?
Yes.
Now, Mayor, the same as possible with regard to the agreements and expenditures section, unless the commission wanted to handle any one of these individually.
Any items in here need to be pulled, discussed individually? I do have one. Let me just go back to that one. Commissioner Drosky?
I'd like to discuss 7 and 9.
7 and 9. That's one of the ones I want to discuss also. Okay. Anyone from the public want to comment on any items from 7 through 10 by show of hands? We have 2. Okay. So let's go ahead and do these individually then. if That's the case.
A resolution authorizing the sole source purchase of a replacement radiator for an emergency generator at the city's West Water Plant from Pan Tropic Power, Inc. in the amount of $39,800.
Okay. Mr. City Manager, can we get an explanation of this? You know how fond I am of sole source.
Yes, and I have Mr. Good available to speak to that and why we are doing the sole source in this particular item. Thank
Okay.
you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission. Thomas Good, Environmental Services Director. What I did was I wanted to bring a picture of what it is that we're actually doing here. We have 2 generators at the West Water Plant, and these generators are the most critical components on that property, so that if there's ever a power failure from the FP&L, these 2 generators turn on and allow us to continue to produce water without any interruption. When we had this past hurricane with Irma, we ran on those generators for almost the entire length of time that we were going through that recovery effort, because FP&L, we were sort of some reason a very, very long wait for them. The generator that we have in question today is generator number 2, we call it. I'm sorry.
It only works if he uses the remote.
Yeah, right? So, this is the radiator. It's the big black box in the front end of that yellow gen set is what we call it. And what's happening is these generators were installed back in 2004, I believe. So these are 12-year-old systems right now. And actually, 16-year-old. So these generators, essentially what's happening is the coils are deteriorating, which means that we're running a high risk of them failing. And then once we lose the coolant, the generator gets hot and it doesn't run at all. This generator radiator does require some building disassembly in order to get this thing in. This generator is specifically set for that particular operation. It's already wired. The only people that are able to work on this are the manufacturers, designated people. It's Pantropic because they are the designated sole source provider by Caterpillar, who is the maker and the manufacturer of this particular unit. And I just want to give a couple pictures of, try to give a size dimension on what this unit really is all about. So it's a very small component of the entire gen system, but nevertheless, it's not manufactured regularly. It's only manufactured by Caterpillar. Caterpillar will only sell it to Pantropic. That's the only way that we're able to get it. That's why it's a sole source.
Questions from the commission before I open up to the public? Commissioner Parnas?
Mr. Good?
Yes, sir.
Would it be possible, if we have to disassemble part of the building, when we put it back together again, that we make arrangements for 15 years from now when it has to be replaced again, so we don't have to take the building apart and rebuild it?
It's actually, that building is manufactured in such a way that it allows us to take it apart and put it back together again already. So it's not taking it apart from a pristine construction, so to say. There are components that were built into this building because it was specifically built to house these generators, to allow the panels to move out, to be able to let the crane move in, and the panels will be replaced.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Drosky?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of sole source either, but Mr. Good and I did talk before the meeting, and one, I'm concerned we're so close to hurricane season that this repair needs to be done sooner than later. So that I kind of lean toward it in that respect. But we also discussed, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Good, is that when we discussed is if this were to go out to bid, because Caterpillar is the only manufacturer of this, if someone else were to have to manufacture this or design it, that the price would be far in excess of what we're paying today. Is that correct?
That is correct. I don't even know if you get anybody to bid on it, because the fact is that they would have to manufacture it from scratch. I mean, there's no mold for this except for what Caterpillar has in their manufacturing facility.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone from the public care to comment on this item? Not seeing anyone, I'm going to close the public portion to be heard.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky?
Yes?
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas?
Yes?
Vice Mayor Vice Mayor Battle?
Yes.
Mayor Gantz?
Yes.
Item 8, resolution approving an amendment to the agreement between the City of Deerfield Beach and Kiwanis Club of Deerfield Beach, Inc. regarding bus benches, approving the second and final 5-year renewal term. There's a renewal of a contract with certain amendments there too relating to compliance with ADA, the ADA.
Anyone from the public care to comment on this item? Yes, sir.
Slides. Waiting for a slide presentation to be booted.
Not a problem. Your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Robert Parton, 1149 Hillsborough Mile, Hillsborough Beach, Florida, and a proud member of the Kiwanis Club of Deerfield Beach, Florida. Okay. So, because of the past 10 years of partnership of sorts between the City of Deerfield Beach and the Kiwanis Club of Deerfield Beach, we've been able to do a number of things with the city and for the city. And if I can figure out how to do this. There we go. So the first thing I'd like to talk about, we have 4 or 5 slides here I'd like to tell you about. We did the first time ever, what's called the Kiwanis Reading Oasis, and we did it at Deerfield Park Elementary School. Next slide, please. Like any work of art, it started with a clean canvas, and our volunteers, members of our Kiwanis Club, went into this room in Deerfield Park Elementary and painted the walls in bright colors to make it interesting for the children to come to. And the whole purpose of a reading oasis is for children to come as a special treat. They can come at the recommendation of their teachers with supervision. They can come on weekends and sometimes in the evening and sometimes during the summer. Next slide, please. So we ordered a bunch of books and a bunch of furniture and assembled everything and labeled the books by grade level from kindergarten through 6, assembled all the furniture and put it in place. And you can see some of our members doing there, and there's the finished product. It cost about $10,000 to do that, plus we put a smart board in there, which is the white square on the blue panel, and that was another $2,500. And because it was so successful, the the Broward County Sheriff's Foundation put another one of these in every other elementary school in Deerfield Beach. We're very proud to have been the catalyst for that. And next slide, please. We also partake in an event called Christmas in July. We spend lots of volunteer hours and lots of money on that. Kiwanis is known primarily for their volunteerism, but in our case, we not only volunteer, but we spend lots of money and lots of time doing things for the benefit of the children and in some cases the adults of Deerfield Beach, and have been doing so since 1956. We currently have approximately 60 members in our club, and virtually every one of them is very, very active in the community. Next slide, please. You might recognize this. A year or two ago, we sponsored the splash pad at Sullivan Park, the naming rights for $25,000, and that was the easy part. The hard part was getting on our hands and knees and placing each one of those 1-by-1 tiles in that splash pad over in the old schoolhouse over here, and then having it transported over to the site and put in place the exact way that it was planned to be. It was a miracle. Another minute or two, please.
I'll give you 1 more minute.
Thank you. Next slide. So since then, we do an annual Family Fun Day where this year hundreds of kids came with their families. We gave them free food, music, beverages, and it was well attended, and we anticipate doing this year after year. The final slide. In the 10 years that we've had this bus bench contract, we have spent in money over $350,000. And it's getting more and more each year. It started out smaller and it's building. And you can see a list of all of the things that we've done with that money. These are annualized, not cumulative. 100 cents of every dollar we raise in the community goes back to the community, and 100% of our labor is through volunteerism. So we encourage you, in fact, strongly as we possibly can, to pass this resolution. We plan on being here for a lot longer and serving the children of Deerfield Beach, and I thank you for your time. Questions?
Anyone else from the public care to come up and speak?
Dan Hers, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. I also wholeheartedly support you all passing and giving Kiwanis another 5-year agreement. And I also think it's important to point out, while this is the last 5 years of the agreement, I hope that the involvement of Kiwanis in this program goes on much longer than that. And the thing that I saw on the slide that's most important is that all that money gets spent back in Deerfield Beach. So you have a multiplier effect, and if you had someone who may come along with a higher bid, it's important to keep in mind that all that money stays here in Deerfield Beach, and I hope you all approve this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Anyone else from the public? Not seeing anyone, I'm going to close the public portion to be heard. Commission comments?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. May I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Drosky?
Yes?
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Battle?
Yes.
Mayor Gantz?
Yes.
Item 9, a resolution awarding RFP 2017-1803 for citywide landscape maintenance service to Innovative Ground Maintenance of Florida LLC.
Good evening, David Miller, Director of Parks and Recreation. Excuse me. Before you is the request to award this award to the Innovative Grounds Maintenance Company. This is a new company we're going to be bringing here in Deerfield Beach. We did have 1 year left on the previous vendor, but we thought it was in the best interest of the city to go back out for bid to see if we can get a better opportunity. And we think we have that. We were able to do the bid, do RFP, and we got it under budget, so we're bringing it for you for your consideration tonight.
Thank you. Anyone from the public care to come forward on this item? Not seeing anyone, I'm going to close the public portion to be heard. Commission comments? Commissioner Drosky?
I, first of all, will point out that the amount of this contract is below the budgeted amount that we have for this item, and it's not the vendor that we currently have, which we've heard so many, issues that we've had with the city over time. This isn't a new issue. The question I have for you, Mr. Miller, is in the backup materials, the eventual winner, Innovative Grounds, there were six applicants, I guess.
Yes.
And in the first round, Innovative was not number 1 on anybody's list. And then, when you narrowed it down to 3 choices, Innovative was the number 1 choice for all 3. So what did they do during their interview, or their references or background? What made you guys, what made the committee change their opinion and rank them number 1?
Sure, thank you. In the first round, price was the determining factor. Price and experience, and that's what got the current vendor the number 1 ranking. But we did an RFP, and we wanted a proposal to find out exactly how they were going to go about doing the program, what they could bring to the city, how well they understood what the city's needs were, and not just the needs, but our budget constraints and what we had to work with. The owners are here in the audience of the company. Both owners are here. They brought a thorough understanding of what we needed. The presentation was very, very thorough. They were able to identify our shortcomings in our current program. They have a certified arborist who is on staff. They have committed to having the owner on site every day that they're in the city to provide services so they can be supervised, providing early schedules for operations. They brought a full rounded program to address not just cutting grass, pruning, edging, maintaining the shrubs, which we had a really big problem with in the previous vendor. Their responsibility was to pull out dead material, let us know so we can plant. None of that stuff took place. We kept falling behind. They have a full understanding of that, and their presentation really, we felt, understood what the city was looking for.
Can I continue, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I think something that's very important that's also in the backup material, and you said a lot in a short period of time, so in case the public missed it, you said in the middle of your presentation there that this Innovative is going to have a supervisor in the city of Deerfield Beach to monitor the work that's going on. We don't currently have that with our existing company. So while we have staff that will monitor what they're doing, this will help alleviate staff, even though, yes, they will continue to monitor and check, but it'll basically, they'll have a supervisor in place first to do that work, which is a huge benefit to the city, is my understanding.
And if I might also add, an owner, not just a supervisor, but an owner. One of the 2 owners will be in Deerfield Beach when the crews are here working.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Miller?
Do we have a mechanism to follow up to make sure the owner's there over the course of a couple of years? Do they have to check in with somebody in the city?
Yes, they're required to provide a schedule at the beginning of the month, and between myself, the park superintendent, and the landscape supervisor, we're going to have a checklist of when they're there, follow up to make sure what they're doing, what they've planned to do, they will accomplish.
So going to be communication between the owner and city
We
staff?
have to have that, yes.
Okay. No other questions? I make a motion to approve.
We've already already closed it to the public, I'm sorry. We have a motion and a second. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky?
Yes?
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Parnes?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Battle?
Yes.
Mayor Gantz?
Yes, thank you. Next item.
A resolution of the City Commission approving the award of ITB 217-18/09 for nuisance abatement.
City Manager?
Yes, if you'd like, I can either have Mr. Eric Power or Mr. Bernard Pita come to speak about this item.
Okay, Mr. Power.
Yep. Thank you.
Good evening again. This is a contract, it was a low bid contract for nuisance abatement services. There we only had 2 bidders, and this was the lowest bidder. The services to be bid on in the nuisance abatement process are related to tree trimming, hedge trimming, debris removal of the trimmings, to board up vacant abandoned properties, pool treatments, pool covering, pressure cleaning, and graffiti removal. Essentially, what these items are is when code compliance has an issue that requires immediate attention in any of these regards, we can call this company, they come out, and they address these issues for us right away.
Okay. Commission comments? Not seeing anyone from the public care to comment on this item? Not seeing anybody come forward, I'm going to close the public portion to be heard.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky?
Yes?
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Parnes?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Battle?
Yes.
Mayor Gantz?
Yes. Okay, comments by the city administration, city attorney? Did proper order.
I think you had requested that I discuss the Tropicante
Yes.
situation. As you know, we've had a long-running legal battle that has been started in federal court, went through 2 appeals to the Circuit Court of Appeals, and dealing with the 2 o'clock closing time, which we succeeded in. And last year, we took the action at the instance of this commission to seek a revocation of the certificate of use for Tropicante. We appeared before the special master, who granted our request to revoke the certificate of use, which is the right to operate in the city of Tropicante. They appealed that, as they have appealed every adverse decision they've received. Early this year, 2 months ago, the court ruled in our favor in a very, actually, just a basic order without opinion, but ruled in our favor, upholding the decision of the special master to revoke the certificate of use. On April 18th, before the order became final, the Tropicante requested of the court that they issue a written opinion. The purpose of that is that an order without an opinion is not appealable, and so they obviously were looking to appeal, and they requested a written opinion from the appellate court. The court denied that request, meaning that the order will be final on May 18th, just a couple of weeks from now. But given that fact, and in light of the recent incidents, we have asked our counsel, Stuart Michelson, who has ably represented us through every stage over the last 5 or 6 years in this, to immediately file action in circuit court, so that the city will have the right to close Tropicante down for once and for all, based upon our success in court. So he is already working on that and has sent a demand letter to the attorney for Tropicante, letting him know that they should cease and desist, and he will continue on that path.
Thank you. City Manager?
Yes, I have nothing to report tonight, Mayor Gantz.
Nothing to report. Okay, we have another item, item number 11.
This is a reconsideration of the amendment to the contract that you approved at the last meeting for Calvin G. O'Donnell. Let me just set the framework on how these things go. A motion for reconsideration on something of this sort is required to be made at the next meeting. Not always required that, but in this type of case it is. It can be made only by someone on the prevailing side, seconded by anyone. This should begin by, and I guess it was requested by Commissioner Parnas, he could offer his rationale and his motion. If it does not receive a second, well then, nothing happens. If it receives a second, then it's subject to debate and a vote. If the commission votes to reconsider the matter, what you have done is you have voided the earlier vote. And it's as if you have not had a vote on the matter again yet. So you're basically on square one. So the matter of the amendment to the contract would be before you, and then you could have a new vote on that matter. If it's 3 votes in favor, it passes, 3 votes against, it fails. So what this is an attempt to do is to take a step back and make a nullity your previous vote. And so I would think that at this point, it was requested by Commissioner Parnas, and he would have the opportunity to present.
Commissioner Parnas?
I woke up the next morning and realized I had made a mistake, and there's a reason for that. I think in many instances we have a broken system. I hear stories of people coming in front of a magistrate after not filing for permits, and it takes sometimes months, and some people never pay at all when they're guilty, and spending another $110,000 to perpetuate a system that needs to be fixed. I've come to the conclusion that we need to wait until the system is working properly. When I see trucks like Seacrest and others in my district, and I ask to see their permits, and I'm told we don't need no stinking permits, I think there's something wrong with the system. Everybody who does the kind of work requiring permits needs to file, whether they do 2,000 hot water heaters a year or 1. They have to be treated equally. So I want to change my vote and say, let's fix our system. Let's make it work, not only for the big companies, but for the little guy. If I have to have a ceiling fan put in with new electricity to an outlet and I have to file a permit, everybody should have to file a permit to do the same work. And if somebody doesn't do it and they get a citation, they should be able to come in front of a magistrate, and if found guilty, pay like they do in traffic court. Not 30 days or 60 days or never, but right on the spot. A violation is a violation. Let's fix this. Let's make it fair for every citizen in Deerfield. Then talk to me about adding and growing the system. That's my reason for changing my vote.
That would take a motion in order.
Commissioner Miller?
Yeah, I do understand. I think you articulated that well. But did you come with another motion of how to fix the system? Or do you just throw it out there, just the current system's not working without a solution in mind?
I would be happy to sit with the city manager and the company involved and come up with some ideas I have and how to make it fair for everybody.
So in effect, you're saying, I don't want to add to the staff of a current situation where it doesn't seem to be working as well as it should be to serve our
Exactly.
citizens.
I think it's throwing good money after bad until we fix it.
May I ask one more thing? You mentioned the magistrate. Is it with the inspectors or at the magistrate, or should we have the magistrate meet more often? What do you think might be a solution?
I think that our code enforcement officers go out It's unfortunate some people don't let them in, but they do go out when there's a complaint, and they do their best to get a permit done. If there is no permit, they open the case. Eventually, it winds up in front of a magistrate if people refuse to cooperate. I have a case that's taken a year. I won't mention the company's name. Had several fire permits not filed with the city. It took me a year. We're down to 14 permits yet to be filed. But if you as an individual failed a fire inspection, perhaps you'd be in front of a magistrate in a week. I think we have to look at it from a point of view of fairness for everybody. We have rules, and why do we have them? Safety. We have fire inspections for a reason. We have electrical permits for a reason. We have them inspected. If you don't file a permit, it's not inspected. And then the citizens are risking, especially in multi-dwellings, the lives of their neighbors because they want to save a few bucks and not hire an electrician and get a permit and have the work inspected. And I think that's wrong. And I think it needs to be fixed and enforced. And when it is, then I think we can afford to spend more money to make it better. But until it's done, I just don't have the conscience to add $110,000 to the budget to perpetuate the system we have now.
Vice Mayor Battle?
Yes, sir. My discourse on this issue is a little bit different from Commissioner Parnas. And I was one of the ones that voted no, that we should not be hiring this code enforcement officer. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Overnight, the POWs started coming. I don't know whether or not they heard our decision or what happened. The illegal dumpers overnight just was everywhere in District 2. It is one of those things that, and I had someone actually call, and the lady had the man on the line so long at 6:30 in the morning while the person was dumping. We could not get code or whatever because she held him on the line so long. By the time and nobody ever arrived during the time that he was there on the phone with her because she kept questioning him as to what's going on or whatever. Send somebody over. I mean, it should have been as simple as that, and it wasn't, because code was not on duty at that time at 6:30 in the morning. I have been convinced now that if we had that person on board that was working overnight as requested, we could have got somebody out there, or we would have somebody out there in order to identify these violators and have this situation taken care of. It is a mess. Yes, the system is broken. I think one of the ways that we can fix this then is that we can hire this person to work that overnight shift or whatever. I am sitting here tonight to tell you that the pile still has not been taken care of. That's going on 2 weeks now, illegal dumping overnight in District 2. I don't know about the other districts, but I witnessed it firsthand. And I came here tonight, and I understand about the permits and everything, Commissioner Parnas, but this illegal dumping just has to stop. So I came here tonight, and if you are not going to make a motion, I'm going to make a motion that we reconsider the, how do we do?
No.
talk.
The status is that the commission has passed a vote to amend the contract to include this additional officer.
Okay.
What Commissioner Parnas is going, he hasn't done it yet by a motion, but when he does make a motion, he's going to be making a motion that we reconsider that vote and not hire that additional person.
Okay.
So if he doesn't get a second, does it go anywhere?
Okay. On you.
Commissioner Drosky?
Vice Mayor, Battle hit the nail on the head. This was a debate at our last meeting about illegal dumping in our city. It wasn't a wholesale indictment on the code compliance process and procedures. If there are inadequacies in those processes and procedures, I would love to discuss them and fix them and figure out what we can do. But that's not the item that was on the agenda, and that's not what we voted on. We voted on adding a code compliance officer to the city of Deerfield Beach, which, by the way, was already budgeted for. We're not adding anything to the budget. It was already budgeted for, because we have a real problem in our city with illegal dumping. Vice Mayor Battle described the woes that she's having in District 2. In District 4, along Powerline Road, we have the illegal dumping, and Lock Road, I mean, I think it must be on Google Maps where to illegal dump, you come to Lock Road. Those are two areas that are very, very problematic in our city. And you, the residents that are out there, are paying for this. Because when our trucks come and pick this up, and then the piles are gone, the illegal dumpers know this, and they come back the very next day or later that same day, and they dump again, and we pick it up. And who's paying for that? I'm paying for that. You're paying for that. That's not fair to all of us across the board. It takes manpower away from the city. We talk about multipliers, manpower and woman power away from the city, extra gas for the trucks. The time that they could be spending in other neighborhoods picking up. This is a true and real problem here in the city. So that's why I voted for it. I wasn't, jumping up and down or hanging from the rafters to do it, but it is a true problem that we need to do. And we did make the decision, and we talked about it, that this is basically, a trial run. We all had concerns with it, and if we didn't like it, we would pull the plug on this program. But because it's such a real problem, that it was worth at least trying and seeing if we can, eliminate and curb the illegal dumping in our city. And we would also create a registry. I remember during the discussion as well, as who the contractors are in our city. You're not going to catch everyone at every time, but the Seacrest trucks that was mentioned, we could notate them and have a log, and if they're permitted and on our list, then we know they're approved, and if they're not, then we know to go after them. So I'm still in favor of having the extra code officer it's a real problem in Deerfield Beach. And maybe because we drive and live in the city every day, you drive up and down the roads and you don't see it. I ask each and every one of you, drive with a new set of, focus on the road obviously, but drive with a new set of eyes when you're driving around our city, and you will see the illegal dumping where you haven't seen it before.
Thank you, Commissioner Drosky. I'm going to go with the city manager, then Commissioner Parnas, and then Commissioner Miller.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Gans. If it would please the City Commission, at the last meeting, we had indicated that we would bring back the data supporting why we're recommending this, which we went over during the budget workshops last summer. We did not have it on that evening, but if I could have Mr. Gressick come up and give a brief presentation, and then I'll ask if the city attorney could talk a little bit about the system, and that it's actually the state that dictates the hearings and the process and timelines. Mr. Gressick?
Yes, good evening. Chad Gressick, Director of Sustainable Management. Thank you for the opportunity to come back up and give you some additional information that we didn't have at the last meeting. So what's presented on the slides right now are portions of our budget presentation from last June. So the reason I wanted to put that up there is because this is not a new issue. This is something that we've been struggling with for several years. It is an item that we brought before the City Commission as part of our budget workshop. I also want to illustrate that it's not just illegal dumping that's the issue. There's also bulk collection, which Commissioner Drosky mentioned, that we have contractors in the city that dump in the city, and essentially we pick it up because of our very generous bulk collection process and operations. Next slide. This is just a slide illustrating some of the typical illegal dumping piles that we see. They are not isolated into one section of the city. They are located throughout the city, unfortunately. You can see it's construction, demolition debris, tires is a big problem. The previous slide you saw vegetation. It's again a big issue. Next slide, please. I think there's one more. And then this is just illustrating where we specifically recommended bringing on a code enforcement officer specifically dedicated to bulk and illegal dumping. And again, not just to those two issues, but also to address any solid waste code related issues that we have. As far as the statistics go, I wish I had some more robust statistics because we literally just started tracking this several months ago with the implementation of our management system and our billing system. I can report that we've had 71 illegal dumping incidents. Our abatement costs are about $14,000 for those 71 incidents. The average tonnage of what we pick up is about a ton. The average cubic yards, if you remember at the hurricane workshop, I had that box as an illustration of what a cubic yard looks like. So we typically pick up 8 of those when we go out and address an illegal dumping issue.
Mr. Gressick, can I
yes.
ask you, the pertinent part of this is how many people have been caught and charged with illegal dumping?
That I don't know. I don't know if we do have CJ here. I believe that's, I don't think there's a very high percentage, unfortunately. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. So a lot of these costs, again, the city absorbs, right? Ideally, you find the individual, you pick it up, it costs you a certain amount of money, and then you bill that individual that you catch. A lot of these we don't catch, and again, as you illustrated, Commissioner, that cost is absorbed by the folks that pay the bills, unfortunately. So the average cost of these abatements is about $200 per incident. Now, right now we are reactive. We are not proactive in addressing this issue. When an issue comes up, we go out, code brings it to our attention, they tell us to pick it up, we go and pick it up. Again, there's a cost. If there's someone that they identify to bill that cost to, we're happy to do it, but 9 times out of 10 we don't. I'm happy to report that since the last meeting, we have been using Mr. Sean Miller, who's here tonight, a CGA code officer, and he's racked up 47 cases in the 3-week period since the last meeting.
For illegal dumping?
For illegal dumping, bulk-related issues.
Was that not the question that I asked?
I'm sorry?
Was that not the question that I just asked?
As far as what has been done recently?
How many people have been cited for
Well,
this?
yeah, again, there's a process, and I agree the process is not ideal. So they cite individuals, they provide violations. That doesn't mean that the process is closed by any means. Those are 47 cases that have been initiated. So that's not the finish, that's the start. Where those cases end, hopefully they all result in somebody at the end of the day paying a bill, but that may not be the case. In one instance, they did catch an individual who's been illegal dumping for 40 years in the city, just the other day. So it's a very big problem. This is what we are recommending as far as a way to address it, and I'll be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Dressick. Commissioner Parnas?
Yes, So we have code enforcement 24 hours, 7 days a week?
No, we do not.
Okay. It seems where I live in my district, Sunday is illegal contractor day. I see trucks going into homes with equipment. I have nobody to call. I can't legally go in after them. I'm just a lowly commissioner, not a police officer, code enforcement officer, and even they can't go into somebody's house uninvited. Unless we have code enforcement 24/7, illegal dumpers, contractors, scammers will find the time when we don't have code enforcement to do their work, finish it, dump it, and leave. Until we fix that system, to me, it's throwing money away. Because they are shifty, they are clever, they're not dumb thieves, so they'd be in jail. So it'll go on. Have your guy there in the evening driving around, they'll dump on Sunday when they're not around. Instead of dumping until 8 o'clock at night, they'll wait till midnight and then dump. So the system either has to get fixed or not get fixed. I don't see this as fixing anything except you're interrupting the illegal dumpers and the people who don't get permits to shift their work to a different time. Because it's going to go on until it's stopped. And I can't see having somebody work 8 hours a day and stop a 24-hour business of dumping, illegal permits, installations that are wrong in an 8-hour day instead of 24. And that's why I'll still vote no.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller?
My thought is, this is a step in the right direction. It's not the total solution. You just mentioned a pitfall. Illegal people will always do things illegal ways. But you just cited 41 cases or something in the last 3 weeks? That's 41 cases since we've stepped up. I think it's worth it. It's already budgeted, so I'm going to continue to vote for it.
I can count, and I don't feel there's the support to move anything forward based on what Vice Mayor Battle has said. Look, the bottom line is, I was on the fence with this because I know that 5 years ago, we went through and we created a division to deal with it, but I think what that division has been dealing with is the cleanup of it, not the enforcement. So the enforcement arm of this has been missing, is what you're trying to tell us.
Absolutely.
So that's why I wanted to see some metrics. In other words, much like you showed with what Pompano, how many cases you've actually been able to cite for, I want to use that as a measuring stick to determine whether or not, if we're going to keep this person on, which it looks like the vote is that way, that we've got the ability to say, by having this person on for that money that we're paying, we're getting this many people cited for the illegal dumping and hopefully curb it. Because I will say this, at the District 2 meeting after I left there, I was there for a little while, I left and I drove around the area and the dumping was unbelievable. There was no exaggeration by you that the word was out because it was staggering what I saw. And it wasn't just in District 2. It was in other areas of the city that are prime targets for it. So I understand the need, and I agree that the system is painful. The system is not always as effective as we'd like it to be. But I think eliminating enforcement, I don't know if that's the way to fix the system. I had more an issue with the fact we had a division created for this, and we didn't have metrics. It sounds like we have some sort of metrics. We also have the ability to get rid of this, and this sounds terrible, but I probably should word it better, but we have the ability to eliminate this position if it's not performing. That's one of the benefits of having these contracts in which we outsourced, is the contract gives us the flexibility to expand and increase depending on what our need is. If that position can't justify itself, then it shouldn't be there. Right now, it looks like the way it's going to go is we have an opportunity to determine whether or not that position is going to earn its keep. So I'm not going to, if you make a motion, I'm not going to do it just because I think I've already counted up here where they're at.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Comments by the mayor and city commissioners. Commissioner Miller.
Okay, I would like to see the millage rate of the city go down in the next budget. So I'm hoping we're going to get what a lot of people are wishing for with the economics that they are. That's number one. Number two, I'm very happy with the new sign as I go over the bridge to the island, the Deerfield Beach Island. Nice. Nice job, city folks. That's number two. Number three, the sprinklers were on Federal Highway all during the day. I don't know if it was a malfunction or what, but sprinklers should not be on in the middle of the day, all day. So can anybody tell me who I could have called? Because that's definitely wrong. This weekend, I just washed my car and I have to drive right through sprinklers. No, but I mean, it was wrong. It's totally wrong. It's not efficient. It's not effective. You water it before the middle of the day. Did you know about that, sir?
No, but I was going to say, you can call me, as does
Okay.
any city commissioner or the mayor, when they see an issue, and I get it resolved
Well, you get it to the right
quickly.
person?
And if you don't
I-
get me, there's always
You know what?
Ms.
I
Petty
should
or
have just
Mr.
done that. I didn't mean,
Santucci.
you know what?
But
I'll do that next
I'm
time.
almost always available.
Thank you. Well, I don't like to waste the water, mostly. I just want to announce for folks that Thursday is called the National Day of Prayer. We're going to have at least, I think, 10 ministers here praying at noon till 1 o'clock this coming Thursday. I'll be here, and if anybody would like to come, I'm inviting you to come. I'm good.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Battle?
Very quickly then, Bernie, I think I may have found a way to help you out with those, code violations and permits or whatever. On June 30th, in cooperation with Eric Powers' office and Bernard Peter, we're planning a code enforcement town hall. That's for
Good.
everybody in the city of Deerfield, not just District 2. Please come out, because a lot of people do things because they're not educated about what it is that they're doing. So if you need, for instance, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, well, you know, if you're going to put a window in, you need to get a permit. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, yes, 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 yes. So simply because they don't know, and these unscrupulous people come around and tell them, no, you don't need a permit, and they go ahead and do the work. So this code enforcement town hall meeting is designed to answer all your questions and to educate you about all the new changes. There's some people going around taking pictures of people's yards or whatever. There's some new changes in the code as it relates to grass in your yard and everything else. So come out, please come out and hear. It's on June 30th. It'll be at, it's a Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. Because I don't want anybody to say, well, I was working, I didn't have a chance to get out. So it's going to be on a Saturday morning. We will have light refreshments, so you don't even have to eat that morning. So please come out to that.
Going to be here?
Yes.
Here.
No, it's not going to be here. It's going
Where?
to be over in the Hillsborough Center.
Hillsborough Center.
Okay. Coming in, I saw some people, Mr. City Manager, bringing in book bags or whatever. Take a look at that for me in terms of security, basically. And final thing, Mr. Miller, every day for the last 3 weeks, even at Publix, when is the wing cook-off? They're expecting it, they're waiting on it, and one of our judges from last year wants to be a judge again this year. So the wing cook-off, please know that they're expecting it. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Parnas?
Yes, I have a few items. I attended the Boots and Bourbon Festival, and it was quite nice. I think people would really have a good time coming out to these festivals and enjoying themselves. The music was fine, plenty of food, and it was fun. This week, we had a tree giveaway, which I attended, and I watched the younger of the commissioners and staff loading trees into cars and trucks, and it was quite successful. I never saw trees go so fast in my life, but it's an annual event, and you should come if you want to plant a tree. And trees are important for so many reasons. They hold the water in the ground, help prevent runoff, they provide oxygen, they eat gases, and they're just part of nature that helps a green world that we need. So please come out with that. Other than that, I think the city is going in the right direction. And the one thing I want to see in this city, compared to many, many of the other cities, in the future, we need an art center with a theater so we can have some culture in this city, where we can have shows and plays and musicals. I've been to the Coral Springs, I've been downtown Fort Lauderdale, I've been to many, and I miss it in my hometown, so I'm hoping we can plan that in the future. Second, in the next, well, I'm still around, I'd like to see our fire stations brought up to where they need to be. They're old, they need work, and I want to be proud of those buildings and for the sake of the firemen. So I hope this is going to be in our future. I know everybody wants lower taxes, but I learned a long time ago, and I've watched cities die. You either grow, modernize, or you die. You can't stay the same. We can't let things run down to a point where they break, and then we must fix them. We have to keep up our infrastructure, and that costs money. So we have to grow and grow to a point where we can pay all the bills with a balance. So it's not all on the residents' back, it's not all on businesses' back, but a balance between where everybody can thrive and the city can grow. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Drosky?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So to jump off what Commissioner Parnas was saying, like standing still is actually like taking a step backward. I want to echo the commissioner's sentiments about the tree giveaway this past Saturday. The line was long. We couldn't give the trees out fast enough. So I won't reiterate what Mr. Parnas said, but what I do want to say and thank staff for having that event, but we didn't do just Earth Day here in the city of Deerfield Beach. We did Earth Month. So we had an event every weekend for the last 4 weekends to celebrate. One event was postponed, which was the grand opening of our apiary, which is moved to June 2nd. But I want to thank staff for thinking outside the box and doing something, that other cities aren't doing. And also just to celebrate, you could have basically an Earth year, but a month wasn't long enough. But the events that we did have reached out to the community in all parts of our city. So thank you for, thinking outside the box and reaching out to our residents. I know they really appreciated the trees. And it goes to a good cause. The only other thing that I have for tonight is this upcoming Saturday, May 5th, is my Saturday office hours right here at City Hall from 10 to noon. You can either email or call me direct or the city manager's office and make an appointment. There may be a couple of slots left, but that's this Saturday from 10 to noon right here at City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Drosky. The staff did an amazing job with Earth Month, and I do want to applaud all their efforts. And JM Family, 2 weekends ago, planted over 500 trees here in the city of Deerfield Beach in celebration for their 50th year in existence. So it was quite a month and very impressive, and that's a lot more leaves to rake. So hopefully we'll get on that. Just a couple of things. I appreciate the city attorney giving us an update on the Tropicante situation. I know how frustrating that is, not just for the residents nearby there, but all of us here in the city of Deerfield Beach. So I'm glad we're coming to a resolution on that. We could also have the city attorney look into the Rowan property. It was the infill property that came before us that was rejected by the city commission. It's my understanding that they're going around the city and they're going directly to the county on that. So if we could kind of look into that.
For environmental resource license, yes.
Excellent. The other thing is, what we've seen actually in the city of Deerfield Beach, according to Mr. Marty Kiard, our property appraiser's office, is actually about 8%, a little over 8% we've had. We've seen that over the past couple of years. But what a lot of people don't understand, and I guess we have to explain it again, but when it comes to your Save Our Homes and homesteaded, and your property values, everybody says that the cap is 3%, and that's the most they can go up if you're homesteaded in an area. Well, that's not entirely true. It's 3% or whatever the CPI is, Consumer Price Index, whichever is cheaper. The Consumer Price Index last year for 2018, or this year I should say, is 2.1%. 2017 it was 2.1%. 2016 it was 0.07, 2015 0.08, and 2014 1.5. That's the maximum your taxes could go up on a homesteaded home that we could, by law, that you would be hit with. So despite an 8% increase, the maximum that you were allowed to go up if you're homesteaded is 2.1%. If you're not homesteaded in the city, if you have a homestead exemption in another city, you have investment properties in the city, your property values are going up because that's a good thing for the city of Deerfield Beach. We want our property values to go up. But that means you are going to pay a little bit more in taxes. And based on that, you still have a cap on what you could be increased by, and that's 10%. That's the maximum for a non-homesteaded property. So that's kind of the way this works. So the comment that was made that I was deceptive in what I said, it was very clear. We have not had a millage rate increase in the time frame that we stated since 2014. That is the exact truth. The millage has not changed. Or, excuse me, the millage has not gone up. So, thank you for being here tonight. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
This is one of those.